السلام عليكم مشاهدينا الكرام، تحية لكم في هذا اللقاء الخاص مع إيمانويل ماديروش الرئيس التنفيذي لمؤسسة سيجا للنزاهة الرياضية. مرحبا بك معنا سيد إيمانويل. بداية دعنا نتعرف أكثر على سيجا، أنت أحد المؤسسين، هل أنتم راضون عما وصلت إليه سيجا اليوم بعد 7 سنوات؟
Thank you, Sahar. It's a pleasure to have this conversation with you and to be back in Doha after 4 years and see, by the way, all the outstanding transformation that the city, the country, the people have experienced over this short period of time. Yes, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first single step. That step was given 7-8 years ago, and it was inspired by sheer passion and the belief that sport needed a new era of greater credibility, greater integrity, so that sport could fulfill its role into the society and economy. Then sport was devastated by daily scandals that would fill the front pages of every newspaper and open TV media every day. But we were able to set up a united front, a common alliance, driven by a common purpose, a common vision, and a common mission. And this could only be possible with the strength and the trust and the confidence and the hard work of several organizations who have joined the Sport Integrity Global Alliance and made it possible. But more than just waving flags and promising a new mentality, we worked hard to implement the most advanced set of standards across sport. And we did it without raising our voice, without pointing our finger, without naming and shaming. We did it without imposing or dictating. And that is a big difference. We did it by convincing, by proposing, by delivering solutions and training, education and capacity building.
إذا قلنا نزاهة في الرياضة، ما الذي يتبادر إلى ذهنك أولاً؟
What first comes to my mind is the feelings I had when I was a young kid, playing football in the streets or in the fields and knowing that whatever happened, the final result was fair, and whatever happened was clean. That was the purpose. We could see how all positive was the atmosphere. Now sport has evolved tremendously, right? It's now a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it has a huge impact in global society, as we see, in global economy. It drives economic development, tourism. It drives so many benefits. But sport is confronted with mega challenges. Challenges that go beyond the ability of sport to solve themselves alone. Challenges related with public order. Challenges related with corruption, money laundering, tax evasion. These are not incidents or threats created by sport itself. Sport is the victim, and is the victim of a global system that has still weak regulation, weak supervision, and has to a large extent poor governance and lax attitude by many organizations. It is against this state of affairs that we work, but we work relentlessly to ensure that governments, international organizations, the sport movement, global society, of which the press is a key component, and global business take an active stand, assume their role and the responsibility at the forefront, because for global problems you need global solutions. And that is also why, to regain people's trust, to regain the confidence of the sponsors, of the broadcasters, of the governments, of the people that invest their money buying a ticket to go to a game, that we can show, by we, I mean the whole sports industry, can show that sport is governed with the highest integrity standards, the highest governance standards, free from corruption and free from so many abuses that we still see. And that is what we work for, and that is where we are getting to.
من موقعك كرئيس لشركة تعنى بالنزاهة، ما هي الرياضة برأيك اليوم التي تتمتع بنزاهة أكثر؟
I don't think that you can finger point one sport, But what I can tell you is that the level of exposure and vulnerability is not the same for all the sports. Although, as we have seen back in 2015, with the incidents that surrounded FIFA and some other sports, including athletics, badminton, wrestling, etc. No sport, no country is immune to these threats. So the response needs to be holistic, it needs to be global, and this is what we're trying to do. When we propose a set of universal standards to sport, something that other industries have adopted decades ago, but sport has remained kind of in the 19th century, what we are saying is that sport needs to lead by example. If sport wants to regain that trust and wants to deserve that passion, it needs to lead by example. That's why it is absolutely essential that sports organizations implement the SIGA universal standards on good governance, so that you can have democratic organizations, so that you can have sports organizations free from corruption, free from money laundering, free from abuse, so that sport can mirror a society where everyone is respected, regardless of the color of the skin, the social background, or the academic curriculum. This is what we work for, and this is what our members and a growing global community is supporting.
دعنا نتحدث عن التكنولوجيا. ما هو دور التكنولوجيا اليوم وكيف ساعدت أكثر في نشر النزاهة في الرياضة؟
As you know, my background is law and football. And in football, the human element has always been dominant, and it should be. It always should be. But technology is an instrument that can help decisions be made with more precision. We have video refereeing. It did not exist. I was in the first meeting where video refereeing was proposed. This was in a UEFA Strategy Council, and it was proposed then by the president of the French League, right sitting on my right hand side. We have also the goal line technology. The Premier League was the first to use the Hawkeye system. But this was, believe it or not, 20 years ago, nearly 20 years ago, the first experiments. So sport has come a long way, and it is almost impossible to imagine how it will look like. One thing is certain, whether we are talking about integrity on the pitch or off the pitch, whether we are talking about athlete performance, technology has changed the game. And if we talk about media, well, look at the ways that now you can deliver top-level entertainment to so many people around the world. So technology is not a threat. Technology is a tool that can enhance sport at all levels. But I'm pretty sure that those gentlemen who sit at the international board have also shown openness to accept technology. As far as we are concerned, yes, technology is paramount, and so is innovation, so is sustainability, so is social responsibility. New words in a sector that has always been conservative. Why do we mention this? Is because if we want to address the challenges and the threats, we need to have technology on our side. Although it is absolutely important that sport, and football in particular being the dominant sport, preserve its essence, its soul, which is linked to the human activity, even the human error, scoring a goal or not scoring a goal, it's something that no machine can compete with the human. So, but I believe that there will be an increase of technology whilst preserving those key elements of the game. But obviously technology will make its way and will have a more dominant role in the future.
بما أنك تطرقت إلى الذكاء الاصطناعي سيد إيمانويل، ويعني يبدو من معرض حديثك أننا فعلا بحاجة للتكنولوجيا في عالم الرياضة، ولكن هل يجب أن نخاف من هذه التكنولوجيا أو ربما تهدد بعض الوظائف في الرياضة أو ربما في الحياة بشكل عام؟
I believe that the jobs of the future have not yet been invented. I believe that it is inevitable, a transformation. But we human, we have a huge ability, not only of resilience, but also to adapt, to adjust, and to prevail. We have shown this during the pandemic. Certainly we can do it again if we are confronted with whatever the future brings us. Technology is not an exception. But I think it's important that we have global leadership. Because without global leadership, regulation will be poor. If you have poor regulation, you will have poor governance. If you have poor governance, then you have trouble. So it is very important that those who sit at the top of the table, they are proactive, they are vigilant, they are open-minded, they are one step ahead of the curve. You know, I'm not foreseeing any apocalypse, you know, as we have seen Hollywood, you know, in so many movies. But what I say is that we need to prevent the dangers that come with deregulated environments, or environments which are poorly regulated, because that is where our way of living, the pillars that guide and govern our society can be put in danger. We have United Nations trying to mobilize the leaders of the world and the European institutions the same, to prevent the dangers that come from criminal infiltration and a lack of financial integrity in so many sectors. I ask, are we winning this war? Are we doing everything we can? No, we are not. On the contrary, we live in a state that is characterized by a certain pulverization of power, lack of strong charismatic leadership, fragmentation of war everywhere, and at the end of the day, there is one thing that we know. It's the people that will suffer. And that increases our responsibility as individuals to do everything in our power to make things better.
نستطيع أن نرى أن سيجا أيضا مهتمة بالشأن الرياضي للمرأة بالتحديد، وتنظم أيضا مؤتمرا للدور القيادي للمرأة في الرياضة. أين وصلت المرأة اليوم برأيك؟
Well, I'll tell you that I think women are the future. Where we are now, we are not where we should be. Yes, we have more women practicing sport. We have more competitions focused on women's sport. But I ask, how many women have the opportunity to sit at the table where decisions are made? Because one thing is participation, and that is okay. The other thing is decision-making power, right? And here also we need a level playing field. We need equal opportunities for everyone, regardless of genders, regardless of economic backgrounds, and regardless of other artificial factors. There should be merit in this. Best people to the best jobs, you know? It's not a feud of men, or, you know, it should not be dictated by this approach, but we need to create conditions. So at SIGA, for us, this is very, very important. If we want sport to be at its prime, it has to be at its prime everywhere. And in this field, we are trying to change cultures, change mentalities, ensure that there is no fear to open the possibilities for women to be at the top table. Why only women per international federation, as we have many? I personally have done the research, right? So in 2020 we had 17.8% within the executive committee, which is where decisions are made, where the power lies. Only 17.8% of women were having access, were members of the EXCO. The following year, 18.3. And now, last year, we announced the latest survey, it was 26.9, nearly 27. Now, I acknowledge that progress is being made, strides are being made, but is it enough? No, it is not enough. So what we do is we empower everyone to assume their full potential, regardless of gender, full potential. Create a system that is democratic, that ensures equal opportunities for everyone to contribute. And I'm proud to say that we started this project with only one idea, one single idea, an idea whose time had come, right? And through the storytelling of women who had persevered, who had fought to get that seat on the table, piercing the gender glass ceiling, we were able to convince other women that they too could have a chance. You know, it is possible to have a balance between professional life, family life, and a career in sport. It is. And I must tell you also, from every conversation I have had recently, including here, earlier today, this morning, there is leadership, there is willingness, there is genuine commitment to create the conditions so that sport can also place itself at the podium in terms of human rights, gender equality and equal opportunities.
محاربة العنصرية أمر أساسي في النزاهة بالطبع، وللأسف ما زلنا يعني نشهد الكثير من العنصرية ومظاهر العنصرية في الملاعب. ما هو دور سيجا في هذا الشأن؟
Well, this is another problem created by society that affects sport. Sport is a mirror, is a sponge, and sport has been used to project certain behaviors, certain ideologies, which are not in our best interest, should be condemned vigorously and fought vigorously. But the best way to win a war is to win it before it is fought. And that means we need to increase the education of everyone, starting from a younger age. There is a lot that has been done, but it is a continuous, perpetual investment that needs to be made. We have created a permanent committee that deals with matters related with gender, race, diversity and inclusion. It is a very active, very proactive permanent committee composed of leaders from different backgrounds and different sports, and all of them very committed to spur, to spike, to encourage, to incentivize sports organizations, first of all, to adjust, update their governance structures. Secondly, to invest in training, education and capacity building. And a zero policy towards those who infringe the basic, most fundamental human rights. There is no room for that. We need to send a clear message that these behaviors will not be tolerated, will not be allowed. We are in 2024.
إذا كنا سنعطي علامة من 10 على النزاهة في الرياضة، ما هي العلامة التي تعطيها؟
5. I think we are halfway.
Fair.
I think we are halfway. I never underestimated the difficulties of the job that we are doing. Even the word integrity, for some, it burns their tongue. You know, for some, it is seen as a challenge, as an intrusion, because they were always thought and they were always used to govern themselves without any scrutiny. But we are no longer in the 19th century. We are in the 21st century. The world has evolved, and sport needs to evolve with it. You know. But again, it's not by using a stick that we will get anywhere. On the contrary, we need to be smart, we need to be confident, we need to have a positive tone, a constructive language, we need to focus on the solutions rather than the problems, and we need to motivate. We need to motivate, especially those who have done their homework, who have done their transformation, who are at the tip of the tree, at the top of the tree. They too have the responsibility to shine a light on other organizations, other sports leaders, that they can also raise their standards and be recognized by that. And this is why we are proud to work with so many sports organizations. UEFA, for example, Qatar Stars League here in this country, who has done also a very committed work in this field, and so many others. And now, In Brazil, for example, a year ago, the business community called us to create SIGA Latin America because sport in Brazil, predominantly football, was facing a reputational crisis of mega dimension, and they did not want to continue to invest in Brazilian sport unless there was clear change with integrity at the top. And that is why we signed a cooperation agreement with all the major sponsors, first of all, which led to the creation of SIGA Latin America. And in September, we signed another cooperation agreement with the Brazilian government and with the Brazilian Congress. And now we are developing the independent study on the future of football in Brazil.
بناء على العلامة التي أعطيتها بعد كل هذه السنوات من العمل، هل ما زلت تؤمن أننا نستطيع الوصول يوما ما إلى نزاهة مطلقة في الرياضة؟
I think if we continue to make progress at this stage, I think we will, first of all, finish our job with a clean conscience, that we have done everything in our power to leave the reality better than we found it. You know, back in 2014, 2015, when the FBI was raiding FIFA, you know, and arresting sports executives in every federation, even in sponsors and broadcasters, etc., when trust was at the lowest level, I have not given up. I have not given up on sport because I always knew that being a human activity, there were those who were, you know, who had ethical conscience and scruples and were an asset to the sport and the industry, and those who were not respecting the rules and deserved to be brought to justice, you know. And look at us. No one forced SIGA to exist. We gave a step forward. We assume our responsibilities. And I remember when we were, you know, and the lack of trust that sport would inspire. Look to where we are now. Progress has been done, progress will continue to be done, but mark my words, nothing will be easy. We still have a huge number of organizations and leaders in this world that are very territorial, that still live in denial. We still have naysayers. But regardless of all that, one thing I can promise you, we will not stop. This is our time, this is our generation, this is our duty, and we will deliver it. Fortunately, I know I'm not alone. There's a huge community out there who feels the exact same way. And 7 years later, I think the world knows what we stand for, what we do, and how much committed we are to get things done. And then we will leave. I will ride off into the sunset in the same way I came in, independent, but happy.
سيد إيمانويل، شكرا جزيلا لك على هذا اللقاء. مشاهدينا الكرام، الشكر موصول لكم أيضا على حسن المتابعة. إلى اللقاء.